So maybe we're heading toward a world where our billionaire class, who I'll call the super capables, not the ones who inherited, but the ones who made $1 billion, they are super capable. And if they start asserting themselves because they need to, because with great power comes great responsibility, this might be the way we solve stuff. Because we're going to have to innovate our way out of all of our problems. As you know, while I disagree quite a bit with the economic long-term predictions about the doom of climate science, I do believe that they got the chemistry and the physics right, in all likelihood. You know, you can never know 100%, but in all likelihood they did get that right. So I think that's the case where the conservatives probably need to catch up with where science is on just the physics and chemistry of adding CO2, blah blah blah. And as I said yesterday, if you believe that climate science is not real, either because the sun had something to do with it instead, and you think science didn't look into the sun, or you think because there used to be more CO2 in the distant past that means something, it doesn't, because everything else was different then too. So I would encourage anybody who's in my audience to catch up with the science on climate change. Doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Doesn't mean you need a Green New Deal. Doesn't necessarily mean you need windmills or anything like that. You don't need to buy into that. Those are different questions. But buying into just the general question of whether there's warming, I feel like it's time. I think it's time for the skeptics to say, if you've ever felt yourself fooled before, this might be one of those. Seeing somebody else saying they're disappointed. Wrong. Disappointed. All right. So, Matthew, I don't know if you caught the earlier discussion, but when you say you're disappointed in me for my opinion that agrees with the vast majority of scientists on Earth, I don't care about your disappointment, but I do want to block it because I don't want other people to be poisoned by such a shitty opinion. So, I've decided that the most interesting person in the world right now is Elon Musk. Now, you could argue it used to be Trump. You know, he's gonna be pulling back from the limelight for a while, it looks like. And Elon Musk remains, I think, the most interesting person in the world right now. And I've been watching some old YouTube video clips of, famous things that Elon Musk has said or interviews he's done recently, and he doesn't do anything boring. You can watch him all day long, and whatever he says is just sort of interesting. But here's what I like the most about it. Elon did an interview in which he was saying that you wouldn't want to be him. If you actually knew the internal life he has, in his head, I'm paraphrasing him now, but he basically said that he has so many thoughts and ideas and they're streaming at him so quickly and they're so activating, meaning that he feels he needs to do something about these ideas, that it's closer to a curse than some kind of an amazing gift. Now again, I'm paraphrasing, so I hope I got that at least approximately correct. And I thought to myself, there's a gigantic lesson there, isn't there? Yeah, he was literally the richest person in the United States, recently. I guess, I think Bezos overtook him again. But you look at that and you say, well, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't you like to switch places with the, first or second richest person in the world? And then you hear him talking completely, honestly, I don't think he was doing any, I picked up no false modesty or anything like that. It looked completely honest to me, that it's really hard to be him. And the more I thought about it, the more I was appreciating that point. And think about this. The biggest problems in the world, if you were to look at like the really big ones, it would be energy policy, and then the related question of climate, But even if you didn't worry about the climate, you would certainly think we need more energy, right? The world needs clean energy. There's no doubt about that. So Elon Musk, he's got his electric cars. He's got his electric battery company. Tesla, the smart people think of it as Adam Townsend. I heard him say this. So I bought a bunch of Tesla stock the minute I heard this, because I think Adam Townsend said it, that you should think of Tesla as an energy company. If you think of it as a car company, you're missing what it is. It's more of an energy company. And I thought to myself, oh my God, that's true. And I bought the stock. It's up 130%. Now, I don't make stock recommendations, so don't go buy any stocks because I said this, right? This is not a stock recommendation thing, and you shouldn't take any stock recommendations from people like me. But the fact is that that insight is a big deal, because our energy is, biggest challenge in the future, probably. The other challenge is space. We have to get off the planet, and if the United States doesn't do it first, whoever gets there first is going to own the planet. Because if you can control space, you kind of control the planet, because it's easier to, drop things down than it is to shoot things up, sort of a general statement. You want the high ground. So I'm oversimplifying that, but the point is whoever controls space is going to control the future. So aren't you glad that Elon's on your side if you're either a democracy or an American? So, and then he's also putting up Starlink, these low Earth satellites that will blanket the Earth and be a secondary, well, not secondary, but it'll be basically an internet system that's in the sky instead of wired. So what's that going to do for our freedom of speech? Well, it kind of puts it in Elon's control a little bit, because if he says you can be on his satellites, well, I guess you can. And fortunately for you, he's pro-freedom, pro-free speech. So that makes me feel pretty comfortable that there'll be some kind of an alternative to the social media platforms and the common carriers that we have now. So when you look at the size of the problems that he's taking on, or even his boring company, the B-O-R-I-N-G company, where it bores holes in things, and then he's also turning humans into cyborgs. He's got the company where they'll put the little chip into your skull, literally, so you can control technology with your thoughts, I guess. So if you look at the things he's doing, they're literally save civilization things. Now imagine this. Put yourself in his place. And this was my, there's a little boat going by. This was my realization yesterday. In Spider-Man, if you ever watch the Spider-Man movies, there's this line where he says, with great power comes great responsibility. That's sort of Elon Musk's problem right now. He can do things that other people can't do. He just did this $100 million X Prize kind of thing. It's not an X Prize, but his own thing. He offered to pay $100 million to whoever comes up with the best carbon capture technology. Who else did that? Like, who else could have? Who else was smart enough? Who else knew that carbon capture technology is basically the only way to fix things? Did you know that? Did you know that there's basically no way to fix climate change if you think it's a problem? If you think it's a problem, there's no way to do it. And also feed the poor. I was reading an article by Bill Gates, who was lamenting in great detail the same thing. If you tried to meet the climate goals, it would be so aggressive it would just destroy the poor people. Basically couldn't eat at that point. So you might starve 1 billion people to make the Green New Deal work. Now I'm making up those numbers, but I'm trying to give you the sense that we're not talking about a small problem. You're talking about maybe you kill 1 billion people to get to the point where your CO2 is low enough that you don't destroy the planet. Now that's Bill Gates, who's really looked into it, right? And he's telling you you can't get there from here with any way that we can think of. Think about that. Bill Gates literally says the end of the world is coming, basically, through climate change, and we don't know how to stop it. He says that directly. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but he says it, essentially directly. Now, that's not to say that we're doomed, and I don't think so. I think that we will. I think we'll innovate our way out of it, and that's what Elon's trying to do. But my point is this. Yeah, it's like my leaf blower problem, except with boats. The problem is this for Elon. If Elon Musk doesn't fix the world and save it, who else will? Now, I hear what you're saying. People are saying nuclear, nuclear. Actually, if you listen to Bill Gates, and he was very compelling, you could not build enough nuclear plants fast enough. It just isn't any way to do it. If you do the math, there's nothing you can do fast enough that would fix the problem. You can delay it, and building nuclear as fast as you can would definitely help, would definitely delay it, definitely good to do. But it doesn't come close. According to Bill Gates, it doesn't come close. Even if you did everything really aggressively, it just wouldn't come close. Do you know what would? Carbon capture. If somebody can build efficient enough carbon capture, then we can be, let's say, bad with our energy policy, use too many carbon fuels, but just suck them out of the air. Now, maybe the math of that doesn't work either, but I have a feeling that the fact that Elon put 100 million into it shows me two things. Number one, he's got a lot of money. That's the first thing. Number two, he's not the entrepreneur who's just going to be funding the thing that's, let's say, politically hot. He's going to do the thing that works because he's an engineer, right? So when Elon says carbon capture is worth an enormous investment, $100 million, and plus whatever it would take to roll it out, when Elon Musk says that, that's probably the lever you need to start pulling, right? And those of you who are saying carbon capture equals trees, carbon capture can be done with a tree, we don't have to invent that, plant some more trees. You can't get there from here. Trees are good carbon capture, but you couldn't grow enough, you couldn't plant enough, you just can't get there. There's no path with just trees. Trees plus nuclear power? Not enough. Trees plus solar and wind and every green technology pushing as hard as you can? Not even close. You can't get there from here. There's no path to stop the end of the earth, according to Bill Gates. Now, he ends even Bill Gates ends his opinion piece on this by saying that doesn't mean we're doomed. It does mean we need to innovate. So it's sort of down to engineers need to save the world. Has that ever happened before? Engineers have to save the world. No way around it. Because the politicians aren't going to do it. If they did, they would be starving their own public. Nobody's going to do that. You have to engineer your way out of it. And Elon Musk is, at the moment, he's the chief engineer of the world. Or let's say chief engineer of the United States. Because he's figured out the most important thing to do, and then he put tremendous resources, $100 million of money behind it. That's how you get out of it without starving people. Elon Musk is the only person who told you the truth on climate change. Think about that. Elon Musk is the only person that I know of in the whole world, any politician, any pundit, I think he's the only person who's told you the truth, which is if you don't go hard at this and do the carbon capture, there's no way to get there. So he put his money behind it, and right now he's the most important person in the world, I think, because he's engineering the way out of our biggest problems. Our biggest problems are not guns, or transgender sports or whatever you're going to worry about today. I don't worry about that one, but I know you do. So anyway, I would say he's the most important person in the world right now. There's plenty of good reason to be a skeptic. of climate, because I think a lot of the climate claims are obvious bullshit. So if you're saying to me, Scott, how do you not realize that the climate change science is bullshit? How do you not see it? It's obvious. And here's the problem. A lot of it is bullshit, obvious bullshit, and you're completely right. But there's a whole bunch of other stuff that isn't. So the problem with the climate science topic is that if you're listening to, let's say, somebody who's a believer in climate, they're going to give you a bunch of things that are true, that you should believe, and then a bunch of things that are obvious bullshit. If you talk to somebody who's a skeptic, the skeptic will tell you a bunch of things that are true, and then a bunch of things that are complete bullshit. So if you think the people on the left are all wrong, or you think the people on the right, let's say just pro and con of climate change, not left and right, but if you think one of those sides has the good argument, you are wrong. There are two bad arguments: the ones that are pro climate change and the ones that are anti climate change belief, I guess. Both sides are completely irrational, meaning that if you're going to be fair about it, let me be a little bit. Let's see, we still have the same problem out here. Looks like we do. It's about 100 times more windy than when I first sat down. So let me put it this way. Almost everybody needs to be deprogrammed when it comes to climate change. Whatever you believe, if you were to make a list of all the things you say are true statements about climate, whether you were pro or anti, whichever side you were down, if you just wrote down 10 things you believe to be definitely true about climate, you'd be wrong on 5 of them, and it wouldn't matter which side you were on. I don't think there's anybody who talks about this topic who isn't wrong about 30% of what they say on climate. I've never seen anybody who wasn't obviously in need of some deprogramming. And by the way, that includes me. When I started digging into this topic, and I've done quite a bit of looking at the skeptical arguments, probably more than 99% of people. And I've looked at the pro, I've looked at the con, I've looked at the debunks for both the pro and the con, the debunks to the debunks. So I've gone down a few layers. I'll let you look at a better scenery while you're doing this. I've gone down a few layers into it, and what I can tell is everybody's lying. So both sides are lying, or they're just mistaken. I don't know. But I don't think there's anybody who's being completely honest about the climate stuff, with 2 exceptions. And you're not going to like this, right? I know you're not going to like this. There are 2 people that I believe are completely honest about it, probably are really close to also being accurate in terms of understanding it all. One of them is Bill Gates, and I know you don't like that, but I've been watching him for a long time and listened to a lot of what he says about this, and I feel like he's as close as you can get to the real thing. I would bet, I don't know this for sure, but I'll bet if you put Elon Musk and Bill Gates in the same room and said, all right, talk privately about climate change. What is real and what should we not believe about climate change? I'll bet it would be close. Not exact, but I'll bet the 2 of them would be on the same page about what's real and what isn't. I'll bet you if I said to either one of them that the economic predictions are not reliable, the ones that look like it's great doom, I think they'd both agree with that you can't predict 80 years of economics. Too much innovation, too many surprises along the way. So I would listen to those 2 people. And when you see Elon Musk do something this big, the 100 million for carbon capture, you should take that really seriously. I feel as if you're seeing some kind of a political shift that I like a lot, and it goes like this. most of our future problems are going to be technology related. In other words, you'd have to understand the technology in order to make the right decision. So they're technology related, and they're going to be complicated. Take any issue with China, climate change, whatever. They're complicated. Who is the best type of person to make a difficult decision that's scientific and complicated? A politician who's 80 years old? No, that would be exactly the wrong person to be in charge. An 80-year-old politician with no technical background. You couldn't have a worse choice for a leader in today's world than somebody with that kind of a background. And that's who we elect. We elect the people who aren't even close to having the kind of skills that you would need to do the job. Now, obviously, I know that the experts make recommendations to things, etc. So it's not the president who has to have all the technical knowledge. But I don't see it working. I don't see our presidents being technically competent, just in terms of the decisions. So it looks like our billionaire class, let's call them the super capables, have decided that they have to take control. And that may not be a bad thing. For example, you saw that Amazon, let's say Jeff Bezos, it must have been behind it, decided to offer to help with the vaccination rollout. Likewise, some other big corporations are helping as well. So if people like Bezos and Elon Musk and Gates are just saying, well, we're going to have to solve this ourselves, literally, I guess I'll have to do this myself. That's how a Gates or a Elon can think of these things, because they have the ability to do that. They can actually solve problems themselves. So maybe we're heading toward a world where our billionaire class, who I'll call the super capables, not the ones who inherited, but the ones who made $1 billion, they are super capable. And if they start asserting themselves because they need to, because with great power comes great responsibility, this might be the way we solve stuff, because we're going to have to innovate our way out of all of our problems. The only way we protect ourselves against China is to out-innovate. The only way we protect ourselves against losing space is to out-innovate. The only way we get past climate change is to out-innovate. The only way we can get to an election system that's transparent is to innovate. You know, probably some blockchain stuff, whatever. So we've kind of reached this point where the people who matter, the ones who could make a difference, are the ones who can understand complicated things and are hyper-capable innovators who can push the right direction and pull the right lever. So we're lucky to have them. And I don't know that our super capables don't get enough credit. Rather than calling them billionaires, which makes you automatically biased against them if you don't have $1 billion yourself, let's just call them super capables. Because Bill Gates, he's not like you, right? He's not like you and me. He's super capable. Like whatever he chooses to do, he's probably going to do it better than you would do it. And Elon Musk is the same. So, you know, you've got your people like your Naval Ravikants, your Peter Thiels, you know. There's a lot of people who I'd put in the super capable category, and they have begun to assert themselves individually, mostly individually. I don't think they'll end up, you know, forming some kind of a, you know, billionaire cartel. They could, but I don't think their personalities are leaning in that direction. So that's the good news. If you want to know the good news, our super capables have decided to step up. And by the way, I'm seeing it in a whole bunch of realms, maybe more than you're seeing it, because I know people who know people, that sort of thing. And it does seem that the super capables have decided they have to take matters into their own hands. And now that now that I've called these people super capable, I'll look like a dick for the next thing I'm going to say. But if I've taught you anything, I'm not afraid of looking like an idiot. So I'm just going to say it because it's useful. I told you that I was going to try to form a group of independent thinkers to review the news, to tell you which news is fake news and which news you should depend on. Now I'm on, still on my honeymoon, so that won't happen this week. But as soon as I get back, I'll start, putting together some people who can help you sort out what's true and what isn't in the news. Now, why do I do that? Why isn't that somebody else's job? Why can't the news do it? Can the government do anything? Probably not. So I'm just sort of sitting here saying, maybe I could fix that. Or at least I could take a shot at it and maybe learn something. Maybe I can learn what doesn't work. So I don't put myself anywhere near the Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Naval Ravikant, super capable category. But I can do some stuff, right? I have some powers at a lower level. And so it just felt to me that if I didn't do it, it wouldn't get done. And imagine that feeling, times 20 if you're Bill Gates or you're Elon Musk. If they don't do it, it might not get done. Do you think Elon Musk offered $100 million for carbon capture technology because he thought it would happen without him? Probably not. He probably thought there's a good chance this isn't going to happen unless I personally make it happen. That is one hell of a responsibility to have on you. And my God, we are so lucky that the hyper-capables are on our side. All right? There are probably more American hyper-capables or super capables than anywhere else, and I don't know why. Some of it is, the people we've attracted to this country. Some of it is, our entrepreneurial way of life. Maybe it promotes this sort of thing better than other places. Maybe it's cultural. I don't know exactly what it is. But we do produce more super capables than other places. We just invent more stuff. I don't know why. How do you gather info without a huge network? It's a general question. Herbert Hoover and Jimmy Carter are what happens when you let engineers run things. Well, let me make a distinction. You don't want an engineer to be your president if that's all they've done, right? I wouldn't take somebody who ran a peanut farm but also was an engineer and say, okay, we're in good shape now. But the super capables are different. They made their billions through their inventiveness, etc. So when you've got an engineer who also made billions of dollars multiple times, that's more than an engineer. That's somebody who is an engineer plus has all of the all of the qualities you need to make $1 billion.